Hello, Miss Plesac. My name is Matt Broski. I am a student at Youngstown State University. I am majoring in right now business administration, but hoping to change it to management. Um, I'm taking this communication course that requires me to do an informal interview with you. While I'm here, I'm trying to make some career choices for me down the road and trying to learn different paths in management. Um, and I wanted to ask you some questions today for me to understand a little more about what you do everyday basis and how I can help myself down the road.
Okay.
Uh, my first question is, what are some positions you held before your current one?
I formerly was a director of nursing. I ran a healthcare team of about 130 staff, and was mainly responsible, mainly responsible for quality outcomes and metrics and finances for the company.
So like, what do you like? You said like many positions because you said nursing too. So what kind of nurse were you before you?
So I graduated 25 years ago, and I worked in skilled nursing. And I just immediately took to managing a team. I really enjoyed being a charge nurse and became very involved in like the performance of our team on our unit. And it was maybe a year later, I was asked to be a supervisor. And then that just started from there. I started being a nursing supervisor, eventually became a manager over the financial nursing department, and then um, ultimately a director of nursing. And then, currently I'm a market manager for the Cleveland Clinic over the nursing financial division.
So how long have you been in the market side of nursing for the Cleveland Clinic or just overall?
For the market. So I've been at Cleveland Clinic for 2 years, and I was promoted to a market manager actually just earlier this year.
So it's
So
still,
it's a fairly new position for me.
even though you do have a degree in nursing, what do you think are general skills to be in the management role?
I think that you have to be open to your employees and really make yourself available in a genuine aspect. Um, One of the things I've learned along the way is that no leader is going to be incredibly successful without their team. And in doing that and knowing that, you have to be very available to your staff, be a genuine person, and listen to what they're saying. There are a lot of leaders that, out the gate, they're very excited to be a leader, and so they just kind of start barking orders. It's really important to learn about your team in order for you to be an effective leader. You have to learn what people's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what are areas of concern for them that, certain things they just don't have faith in themselves to do. Um, and you really can build your team well if you know your team members.
So with that, what kind of, do you have like a certain like management style you have for yourself? Or do you kind of just go with the flow with like each person in your team?
I don't have a one particular management style, and I think that that's what makes a decent manager, because there are some staff that I have that need constant direction. They need it in black and white. They need me to just tell them what to do, and that's how they best function. There are other people who are, you know, maybe take a little bit more hand holding, but they want to learn. So there's other staff members that I teach along the way. There are other staff members that don't want to learn any more than they know, but they're really good at one particular thing. So that's their one particular thing. When we have a problem and we have something that we need to overcome, I play to their strengths. And I avoid putting them in situations as a manager that is their weakness. You know, there are some managers that just think, here's the job, do it. And if I can learn my team well enough to place people in proper positions for them to be successful, I will have a team of employees that enjoy their job and they'll want to work for you. And I think when they know that you can appreciate their strengths and weaknesses and you are not going to set them up to fail, they're more apt to kind of come out of their shell, and they're a lot more apt to participate in helping you be successful as a leader.
Yeah, because I'm a baseball player here at Youngstown State too, and I've seen coaches with different styles. So I was just more wondering if you had a certain style, because some, you see positive effects from some players and others, and it's probably a similar situation for you. And that's kind of why I wanted to learn a different aspect from management, because of many different styles of people that people have for it. But sorry, you were to say something?
No, I was just going to say that that's why it's so important to learn your team, because you have to flex yourself as a manager to meet the needs of that employee in order to keep your team moving. So yeah, you do kind of flex between all of them. And there are times that, you have to be very firm and direct, and, discipline is, not an easy thing for a manager, but it's definitely, I think when your team knows that you back them and support them and want their growth, that when you do have to discipline them, they tend to be okay with it. They realize, yeah.
I see that a lot too. With what is a typical entry position for a management role under what you're at now? Because I know you went to a different path, but like if you went to like a nursing, or is it the same path that you took?
No, it's for an entry level. You mean like an entry level manager position?
Yeah,
Um, you
because
have to have, oh, so go ahead.
I
Go
said
ahead.
with your situation, it could be the same path that you took, or it could be you go straight from a management to a management position where you're at Cleveland Clinic.
It's normally, you kind of start off on the floor and you work your way up. There's no, typically in these positions, especially because it's a healthcare realm, um, you have a wide range of things that you need to be able to do effectively. And they usually do not hire, say, like new graduates or somebody with 1 to 2 years experience for a position like this, because it's multifaceted. And you're only going to learn all of that by doing the job, by starting at the bottom and working your way up for this particular role. Like I cannot hire, or be a new graduate and enter into this because I have a master's degree. Like you don't, there's so much more that you have to learn prior to doing it.
So you
I
think
don't know if that question.
you think it would be a better idea to actually get a degree in marketing and then you learn your way to become a manager, kind of what you're saying with nursing?
Yes. Yeah. Just for me, I became a nurse, started on the floor and worked my way up to the supervisor, and then so on. There's not many roles that anybody, I don't think that I would even want a role as a director or a manager of a department that I hadn't actually done the job before. Because how do you manage? And you really, I know in nursing it's this way. If you attempt to be a manager over a department that you've not actually worked in, they don't want to hear it. They don't have faith in you. And it's harder when you have a manager who's learning how to do the job than accepting a new manager that comes in who has experience. It would just be a challenge for any manager who would be put in that position.
So you just said challenge. So what are some major challenges that you've seen so far working in a management role?
I think one of the biggest challenges is trying to do more with less. Financially, from a staff perspective, there's certain metrics that we have to meet, whether that be a clinical outcome or a financial outcome. But at the same time, they want to put more and more on you and more accomplishments, but they don't necessarily give you what you need to do it. And I think that's where a good manager comes into play, and I am very fortunate to have a good manager myself, because, if I tell him what I think I need to do in order to be successful and what things I might need to do that, he's willing to sit down and talk about it. And maybe there's certain, avenues we can take without having to need more. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges is trying to produce a higher product with no more staff or finances. I think the other one too is that as a manager, I don't think you realize how much what you do and what you say affects your employees. So, my management style, I give my staff positive feedback because I know, and they know, I will come down on them if I have to. We will address issues. We will work through them. We will do a performance plan. But when we're not in that moment, I take moments to really be kind of a positive, encouraging supervisor. So I think that was really hard for me. I think the first time I terminated somebody, I just bawled afterwards, because I'm like, I literally just took this person who has children and is a single parent just like me, and I had to let her go.
So sorry, go on.
That it's just it's difficult. If it's not difficult for you, then you might not want to be a manager.
So you talked about firing someone. Is it equally or not as hard when you hire someone, going the process of hiring?
I think it's equally as hard, because especially given it's a healthcare role, I really have to do a deep dive into the individuals that I hire, because, we're entrusting them with people's lives. So it's not a field where you can just kind of take a chance and see how it goes. You really have to have a good understanding of the demeanor of the person that you're hiring. So sometimes finding someone to hire is the more difficult thing, because you have this certain set of ethical and behavioral criteria that you would like to see in your employee, and you may not get that. You may get 20 people walking the door, not even close to what you're looking for. And ultimately, sometimes you have to make a decision. Firing people, it actually became easier for me as I became a manager, only because I started to realize as a manager, I learned a lot about myself as a manager. And I realized that I would only resort to that if all other avenues were, exhausted. I never allow my staff to miss an opportunity to learn, to be better. I think one of the funniest things is I was shocked was terminating somebody. And, I explained to her, I said, this behavior won't be acceptable anywhere you work. And so here in this particular case, had this situation come up again, here's some things you could do to not be in this situation again. And at the end of it, she just hugged me and said, you know what, I learned so much in this one meeting with you that I know that I can do better, and I will. And totally accepted her termination. She realized what she did was wrong. And, it doesn't always go that way. But the majority of the time, I think I don't go into a termination just wanting to get it done. I go into a termination knowing that this might take me about an hour, because I'm really going to give this person what they need to move forward. not leave with hard feelings and anger. And I don't know. I've had a lot of thank yous after my termination, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing it right.
That is common. You don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so you said you talked about that when you fired that female. You said that she had a bad attitude. So what is some good qualities that you have in your role as a manager that your employees that understand and like about you?
Characteristics of me.
Yeah.
Um, I tend to hear that I am very approachable. I do listen when my staff have a concern, and I attempt to draw out of them what might be the best answer versus just telling them what they need to do. Because in my mind, as a supervisor, if my team can run without me, then I'm doing my job. Like, my team members need to know what to do. I'm not, I really think that, you know, being approachable, being able to sit and communicate, when I am extremely busy, I still make time in that maybe I have to schedule an appointment to sit and talk with an employee. But I at least do that if I can't sit with them now. And they do know that I will hold them accountable. And that builds faith in me in their eyes, because they know then that there's no, there's no hidden agenda. I'm pretty much an open book, but I also lay out expectations, and they like that as well. I don't just, say, hey, here's what you got to go do. It's, here's what we have to accomplish. This is the pathway in order to accomplish it, and here's the time frame to get it done.
So you get, it sounds like you get more positive feedback than negative from your employees.
I do. Yeah, I do. I'm really grateful for that too, because when you're a manager, there's always going to be somebody who makes you think, my God, am I doing this right? I don't know, like, is this how it's supposed to be done? And especially as a new manager, you don't know. So I really just tried to think about what I would want in an employee, or in a manager. I would want somebody that I can approach. I would want somebody who's going to give me constructive criticism so that I can become better at what I do. And I have had a lot of positive feedback, and I'm just really grateful for that. I feel like I'm on the right track. And then with each new position, I keep growing. So clearly whoever my manager is thinks I'm on the right track.
So the few negative feedback, do you actually sit down and read them or listen to them and try to learn from it too?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's part of what makes a good manager too, is I don't always assume I'm right. I may not be right. And one of my employees may have a much better idea or a much better approach. And you have to be able to be at least confident in yourself as a leader to go, you know what? They do have a better idea than I did, and so I'm so sorry. I forgot what the question was. I was answering.
No, the negative feedback.
Did I answer it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it just, I enjoy that, but I also know that, my employees respect me. I hope they do. And I think it's because you build a working relationship and you don't cookie cut. Like you said, with your baseball team, you can't just treat every single person the exact same. There's going to be some give and take in that.
What is the market right now for your job overall?
What do you mean? What is the market?
Like how is like people, because you said you got your job earlier this year. Was it like a quick, not like a quick decision, but like, was it kind of expecting, or was it like easy to get, or was it kind of like a long process for you?
So within the company that I work for, they have this role because we have multiple hospitals across the United States. So they have this particular role in a couple areas of the United States that they were trialing, and they really didn't think that it was very successful. Um, and that just kind of dropped it. So that role, they stopped making that role available because they didn't find it to be financially feasible. I had actually made a decision to take a director of nursing role and leave my position because strictly out of financial. As a single parent, I was able to make more money, and I just thought that that would be the best decision. In doing that, my regional director sat me down and said, "Please tell me why you're leaving." And I said, "It's twofold. One is financial, and the other is I'm bored. I'm just bored with what I do, and I need more. I'm used to running a team. I'm used to having input. I'm used to gathering data." And so she said, "Hold on, I'll get back with you." And called me the next day. She had spoke to the COO and the CEO and just decided that, what, let's try this position again, but maybe on this part of the United States, not down south. And basically said to me, write your own job description. You know what the goals are. You know what metrics we're trying to meet. You're creative, make it happen. And I was like, oh my God, because that was overwhelming. I like structure. I like to know what exactly is expected of me. So I thought, you know what? Well, this is new. I've never had that happen. So I sat down and I wrote what I would expect from this role. And I've just followed my own path since then. And it's been, they're very happy with the path. But I think they did come to the realization that the reason the position didn't work in other areas was because there wasn't a high level of expectation put on those individuals. And so in creating the position myself, now they've asked me to write a job description for it, and they're thinking about starting it over again in other areas of the country.
So it's pretty limited right now for your certain job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I have 3 hospitals, but I wouldn't be surprised if they add 2 more hospitals to me, or if they add another person in a role like this.
If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently to prepare for your job?
Um, I would have continued my education and got my master's degree. I think that you limit yourself when you're trying to move up a ladder. Luckily for me, just because of being a nurse and knowing the people I do and have worked for the people that I do, they know me as a person. And so they've kind of pushed me up the ranks because they like the job I do. They very easily could tell me, no, we're going to hire somebody with their master's degree in this position, but they didn't. And that scares me because I really feel like, I cheated myself when I stopped going, because I graduated and I thought, I'm free. I was glad to just be done, get on with my life. And now I wished I would have continued, because it puts you in a much better position and gives you better opportunities for roles. I have been turned down for roles because I didn't have my master's degree, and it would have been something I would have absolutely loved to do.
So,
So I think I would have furthered my education.
so even though you didn't further your education, do you think it is stopping you from growing from where you are now?
No, no, not in this particular position. I love to seek out um, new opportunities to learn. So I'm like a sponge when I'm sitting around the CEOs and listening to them talk, and the physicians, and I just take it all in. But the sad part of it is at the end of the day, I don't have a degree to back it up. I mean, I do now, but I don't have the degree if I wanted to pursue more. So the next step from this role would be to become a CEO of the hospital. In order for me to do that, I have to have my master's. And so that would be the next step for me, and I don't have it. So it's actually something I've been thinking about
Well,
going back.
well, thank you so much for today. I've learned a lot. Hopefully we can talk more down the road and have me learn more about your job and going forward. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. Good luck.
Thank you.